United States Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Switzerland for talks with Iran days after they signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the US-Israel war on Iran, which had sent oil prices soaring above $100 per barrel and rattled international markets. The latest round of talks, mediated by Pakistan and Qatar, is scheduled on Sunday, as Israel has intensified attacks on Lebanon, killing dozens of people on Saturday.
United States Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Switzerland for talks with Iranian officials on implementing the interim deal to end the US war with Iran. The US and Iran earlier this week agreed to a 60-fire extension for the negotiations. But Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on Saturday announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israeli attacks in Lebanon, although the US military said commercial vessels kept operating.
PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on Sunday announced advocate Amjad Hussain as the party's candidate for the post of Gilgit-Baltistan chief minister. The announcement came a day after the PPP, which emerged as the leading party during the recent general elections, announced it would form a government in GB with the support of the PMLN.
Beneath the scorching sun in the Sindh mango belt, labourers balance on tree branches, working at a swift pace to throw the freshly picked fruit into sacks held ready by farmhands waiting below. Though mango season is well underway, far less of the fruit will be bound for the lucrative export market than usual, with an agriculturally dependent economy caught in the crosshairs of the Middle East crisis that the government has helped mediate. Japan marked the 1,000th game in the history of the World Cup with a 4 thrashing of Tunisia on Saturday to close in on a place in the last 32. Ayase Ueda scored twice, while Daichi Kamada and Junya Ito were also on target as the Asian giants joined the Netherlands on 4 points at the top of Group F.
Scottish authorities said on Saturday they charged a man in connection with attacks in Edinburgh that wounded 5 people, with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying the suspect appears to be motivated by anti-Muslim hatred. Police Scotland said officers had arrested a 36-year-old white Scottish man and there was no further threat to the public.
Japan marked the 1,000th match in World Cup history with a commanding 4-0 win over Tunisia in Group F on Saturday, as Ayase Ueda scored twice to send the North Africans out. Hajime Moriyasu's side, who drew 2-2 with the Netherlands in their opener, went ahead after 4 minutes when a sweeping attack ended with Keito Nakamura cutting the ball back for Daichi Kamada to score. Peshawar. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa advisor to the Chief Minister on Finance Muzammil Aslams on Saturday said the National Economic Council, NEC, was not the legal forum for authorising and cutting any provincial expenditure, as that power was vested in the National Finance Commission. Addressing the post-budget briefing at the Civil Secretariat along with Information Minister Shafi Yan, Mr Aslam said there was no legal forum for the purpose other than the NFC.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Chief Army Staff Field Marshal Azam Munir have arrived in Switzerland to take part in high-level negotiations aimed at pushing forward a ceasefire framework between Iran and the United States. Al Jazeera reported the talks are being held in Bergenstock, where US Vice President J.D. Vance is also expected to participate. According to Pakistan, is mediating alongside Qatar, which is expected to join it. Tatar, which is also expected to join the discussions.
The fate of Lebanon could determine whether the recently signed MOU between the US and Iran survives. True to form, Israel is doing all possible to ensure the nascent peace deal is destroyed before the proverbial ink dries, as it continues to mercilessly pound Lebanon. While a supposed ceasefire was announced on Friday, Israeli attacks in Lebanon continued yesterday, with a large number of casualties reported, as the Zionist state hit both the southern and eastern parts of the Arab state in apparent pursuit of its arch-foe Hezbollah.
While the budget session in the federal and provincial assemblies is in progress, Some members of the two houses of Parliament have again raised the need for an independent office within Parliament to provide an unbiased analysis of the annual budget to the legislators. The argument is that if members of Parliament have to debate various aspects of the budget as informed legislators and exercise oversight on the executive's produced budget, they need support from an entity which is outside the control of the executive, so that the numbers produced by the Ministry of Finance for the budget and by the Ministry of Planning and Development for the Public Sector Development Programme can be scrutinised and independently verified before the parliamentarians provide their feedback and input during the budget debate.
Samuel Huntington is making a comeback. In his 1996 book, The Clash of Civilizations, the American political scientist deeply divided academic opinion by arguing that culture, rather than ideology, would drive post-Cold War conflicts. In 2019, the British political theorist Christopher Coker wrote that the contemporary concept of the civilizational state serves as a real-world evidence of Huntington's core thesis. According to Coker, culture, rather than ideology, has become the primary currency of international politics.
My brother was murdered for not paying an extortion payment in front of his children. Edilma Martinez Flores said at a support centre for displaced people in Bogotá. She fled her home on the outskirts of Cali in the southwest after armed criminal groups handed out leaflets ordering residents to leave or face violence. Israeli strikes in Gaza have killed at least 6 people, including an Al Jazeera cameraman and at least 1 child, according to health officials and rescuers. Al Jazeera said it strongly condemns the heinous crime of targeting and killing of its correspondent Ahmed Wisher, who was killed in a strike on a central Gaza home on Saturday.
Burning sandalwood thickens the air in a room that's so exclusive only a vanishingly small number of people are allowed to enter. This is an agiary, a Zoroastrian place of worship for India's Parsi community, where priests in white robes stoke a sacred flame around the clock and recite ancient Avestan prayers that have survived 3 millennia.
The knockout bracket in the FIFA World Cup 2026 is starting to take shape. It begins with the round of 32, which runs from June 28 to July 3.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has constituted a 10-member high-level committee to review controversial right-of-way raw ore provisions in the Pakistan Telecommunication Reorganisation Amendment Bill 2026, following growing concerns from lawmakers and stakeholders over the proposed legislation. According to a notification issued by the Prime Minister's office, the committee will be chaired by the Federal Minister for Law and Justice. Its members include
Energy, PDMA and BSDI receive major allocations. 2835 BN earmarked for energy sector. Development spending exceeds 58 spec. The Balochistan Assembly on Saturday approved the province's supplementary budget of over 119 billion for the fiscal year 2025 to 26, without debate and without any cut motions being moved against the demands for grants.
Quetta. An additional district and sessions court on Saturday sentenced the father and maternal uncle of 14-year-old Pakistani-American girl Hira Anwar to life imprisonment for her murder. Additional district and sessions judge Shahid Javed announced the verdict after completing the trial and hearing arguments from both sides.
Naveed Kumar says climate funds must not be consumed without projects. Panel seeks stricter recovery of petroleum levies from OMCs. Islamabad token tax hike approved despite middle-class concerns. Islamabad. A parliamentary committee on Saturday raised concerns over the proposed carbon levy amid growing climate challenges, warned that reduced duties on scrap could create environmental risks, and approved an increase in Islamabad's token tax that is likely to affect middle-class vehicle owners.
Goalkeeper Eloy Room was Curaçao's hero against Ecuador, keeping out a barrage of shots to help the tiny Caribbean nation claim their first ever World Cup point in a goalless draw that keeps alive their hopes of reaching the knockout phase. Ecuador, who finished second in South American qualifying, had 28 shots, including 15 on target, but Room stood firm in an astonishing display in Kansas City on Saturday.
Egypt coach Hossam Hassan has dismissed talk of unrest involving talisman Mohamed Salah, insisting there were no issues within the squad in their crucial World Cup Group G match at BC Place, Vancouver. Salah is an important player for our squad, and the 26 players who are here with me are very important, Hassan told reporters on Sunday.
Allocations in all climate heads face cuts, except for disaster management. Experts call for transparency in climate spending. Structural reforms Islamabad. Climate allocations in the next fiscal year's federal budget again fall short of putting Pakistan on a path towards a climate-smart future and inclusive growth, despite the immediate risks it poses to the country. The United States will not ease the travel restrictions on the Iranian team for their World Cup matches in Los Angeles and Seattle, despite the team saying they would lodge a complaint with FIFA. The co-host nation's top tournament official has confirmed the US will continue to assess the Iran squad's travel arrangements, but for now, the original plan remains in place. Andrew Giuliani, executive director of the White House Task Force for the tournament, told the Reuters news agency on Saturday. Deniz Undav scored 2 goals off the bench as Germany pulled off a thrilling comeback to beat Ivory Coast 2-1 in their World Cup Group E match, securing their place in the knockout stage for the first time since they won the title in 2014. After having 2 goals disallowed in the first half on Saturday, Germany did not lose focus and used intricate passing to find their way, while the West Africans produced their dynamic brand of attacking football in a wild Group E clash. Germany reached the World Cup knockout phase for the first time since 2014 with a dramatic come-from-behind 2-1 victory over Ivory Coast on Saturday. Substitute Deniz Undav scored twice, including the crucial goal 4 minutes into injury time, triggering a massive roar from the overwhelmingly pro-German crowd of 43,000 in Toronto.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky says he has returned Poland's highest honour after his Polish counterpart Karol Nawrocki said he was stripping him of the award. The Polish Order of the White Eagle was bestowed on Zelensky in 2023 by then President Andrzej Duda.
It was unclear what Paraguay's Miguel Almiron said to Turkey's Mert Mulder under the cover of his hand, but it may have been his last gesture in this World Cup. On Friday, Almiron became the first player to be sent off at the World Cup for violating a strict new rule that forbids the covering of mouths during on-field confrontations, leaving Paraguay with 10 men to fend off an entire half of unrelenting Turkish attacks.
United States President Donald Trump has pledged there will be no tolls for passage through the Strait of Hormuz, unless they are collected by his own country. Trump's statement, made in a Saturday afternoon post on Truth Social, is the latest sign that a recently signed Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, may be unravelling.
Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky has returned Poland's highest state honour after the Polish president stripped him of the award as a politically charged dispute over World War II history resurfaced. Ukrainians believe the order was meant for the Ukrainian people and our army. Zelensky wrote in a social media post explaining the gesture, "Today I sent the order back to the President of Poland. I believe the future will confirm the respect Ukrainians deserve."